Hey guys, Danny Johnson here, and today I'm going to show you how to set a torque wrench. So a torque wrench isn't for using more leverage to break things loose, it's actually how you limit the amount of torque that you're putting on something. So you set it to a number, and then as you're turning it, you'll hear it click. Okay, and that's how you know that you've set it to the right torque rating. Otherwise, you might over tighten something or not tighten it enough. So first of all, we're going to look at the range on this one. So this range, let's see the numbers here. This torque wrench is going to go from 20 foot-pounds up to 100. So if you see here, it starts at 20 and it goes up to 100. Now, with a torque wrench, you always want it to begin at its zero mark, or in this case, its lowest one is 20. We can try to rotate this more, but you could break it if you keep going past its lowest setting. So we're going to keep it here at 20 foot-pounds. Now, what you'll notice is that there's these squiggly lines. So see how the squiggly line, let's look at 30 foot-pounds, for example. You have a squiggly line it's straight at the bottom, then it goes up, and then it leads to 30. Okay, and the reason it does that is because what you're set at here, where this rim is the torque setting that you're at, and you still want to be able to read what number that is. So we're currently at 20 foot-pounds, and that's why the line comes over and the squiggly line is at the base of this yellow ring. So let's go ahead and set this to 30 foot-pounds from 20. So usually there's a lock mechanism like this, so you're going to pull down and twist it. Okay, so we know that we're at 20 foot-pounds right now, so these also will help you count up to 10. So we're going to pull down, we're at 20 foot-pounds, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Now notice now that we're at 30, we can still read the number 30, and if we look at that little squiggly line, okay, so here's 30. You can see the line that goes over and then it goes down. We're at the base of that line. So we know that we're at 30. Okay, now notice how 20 is covered up. If you're covering the number, it's most likely you're past that. Okay, so what we're looking for is the base of this yellow here to be right at the bottom of the squiggly line that leads up to our number. So if we wanted to go to 35 foot-pounds, we would go 31, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now notice we're starting to cover that 30 up just a little bit, okay? And we're getting closer to our 40 foot-pounds. Okay, so if you're ever confused where you are, you can always back it off until you're, as an example, we'll go backwards here until we can read all of 40, so we know we're not at 40, right? And then look for that squiggly line. So the squiggly line base, we're at 30. And now you can either count or just twist it. And then we'll get up to 40 there. Now notice how the lock goes in place when we stop pulling it down. So now we are at 40 foot-pounds. Now on the back side, you'll notice it's in what's called Newton meters. That's just a different measuring unit. So sometimes if you see specifications that would tell you to do it to, 60 or 70 Newton meters, then that you'd set it the same way, but you'd just be reading the Newton meters instead. Now notice that the head of this allows you to go in reverse. Okay, now that is not so that you can break things loose with this. So we're gonna go ahead and put a socket on here. Okay, now as you switch it, okay, so now basically we can go in reverse sequence, that's not so that we can break something loose. That's actually because sometimes the fasteners that you're tightening down have a reverse thread on them, and that keeps them from spinning in a certain direction. So that's not for breaking it loose. It's not like, oh, I went too tight or I messed up, let me flip it into reverse. Okay, this should only be used to tighten things down. So you're either tightening them normally like this, clockwise, until it clicks, right? Or you're putting it in the other direction, and you should only be using this to tighten other reverse thread items until they click. But you don't want to use a torque wrench to break things loose. Okay, so let's practice. Here's a loose bolt. We're going to torque that down to 25 foot-pounds. So we're going to take our wrench that's set to 20. We're going to pull the ring down, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we're at 25 foot-pounds. We're going to put our socket on the end of it. Make sure that we're going clockwise for this one. Okay. Now, listen for the click when I tighten this down. There we go. Did you hear the click? You can double check. We'll try this again. Okay. When you hear that click, that means that you have reached 25 foot-pounds and you shouldn't go anymore. Now, if you're tightening and you hear that click and you just keep pushing, now you're putting more torque than the rating that you're looking for. Okay, so as soon as you hear it click, you stop. You got to do it very carefully and just be listening for that. On very light torque wrenches like this one that's in inch-pounds, you have to be very careful because sometimes you're turning it and you almost don't hear that little baby click that you're listening for. So if you feel like you're getting close to that limit and you didn't hear the click and you think it should, then double check that you're at the right torque setting and then lift it up again and try it again very gently. But you got to sometimes really be careful to hear that click the right way. Now, bearings like this, if they're over tightened, it can damage the bearing. So that's why you would want it to be no tighter than that 25. And sometimes there's a range. It'll tell you it's okay to go, 17 to 25 foot-pounds, or a range, because it could vary. And that's when you decide exactly how tight you want it to be. But that's how you would torque something down to 25 foot-pounds. Now when we're done, we're going to take this back down to the setting it came at, which is 20. If you pull this down, and you notice if we tried to pass that, it still does go down, but we don't want to do that. We're going to keep it right there at its lowest range. Okay, this is a broken torque wrench, and let me show you an example. What people do is they're all done for the day, they're impatient, so they just keep going like this to try to get all the way down to zero, and before they know it, just like that, they've passed the lowest setting and they keep going, and you can hear it in there. That's not good for it. So you don't want to keep it tight, because then that spring is bound up and you lose the accuracy. But you also don't want to super go past the lowest setting and keep going, or it can mess it up. So again, when you're done, you want to return it all the way down back to basically where it came from the factory. This one came set at 20. If you go lower than that, it's not good for it. And there's a spring mechanism in here, and that's what it's using to tell you if the torque is correct or not. So if you have this tightened all the way up to 100 foot-pounds and you leave it that way, it can lose its accuracy. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Please check the video description. I have a lot of other videos that are similar to this. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. Thanks, guys.